Hello and welcome back to 100% Real with Ruby. Today we have part 2 with Zoe Knight, the mama of muscle nerds, and let's get straight to it. Because she was getting in her own head, she was complicating the process, and she was mentally still dieting. And that is their thing. She was never this bad before, to the point where it affected her sex life, it affected her libido, it affected everything, to the point where she lost herself. And this is like, you need to be willing to pace yourself and not want it all now, because all the things we spoke about, like actually developing all these tools and becoming like a badass, it doesn't happen overnight. You need to be willing to put in that work. And like the whole levels thing, and because she approaches her clients in the gym with the eating habits, and we'll dig into that a little bit more as well, but it's the same with me, with my clients, except the fact that it depends on what they're willing and what they're able to do. And that's the same with you, comparing yourself to other people and their bodies. It's like, yeah, but what are they doing right now? And what are you willing and able to do about what they're doing right now? And I heard on another podcast, I'll come back to that food thing. I heard on another podcast, they said something like, you can't just wish for someone's body without wishing for everything else that comes with it, which might be might be all those broken things in their life.
I think we had that with you at one point too. Like, I remember you saying, like, we had another client, you're like, oh my God, her ass. Like, I want her ass. And I was like, yeah, but you wouldn't want what come like the body fat levels that come with that.
Yeah, that's what Luke always used to say to me. Like, oh, this is going to be another thing to talk about. Body fat does happen with muscle gain. When clients come to me, the first thing they do now is they go through an introduction week. And the first task on that is a 4-day food diary in Chronometer. I mean, MyFitnessPal, because MyFitnessPal, I can like look into it. So they do that, but obviously they're not tracking every single little thing they put in there, but it gives me an idea. And then I compare that to their initial questionnaire, which has a lot of detail into all the different types of foods they like, don't like, and what they ate the day before. So they have that. But then if they can't do the MyFitnessPal and they're a busy mum and they can't be fogged, food photos, that's what I get.
Yeah.
We have the tools for you, but you need to speak out and not just push your way through something that isn't working. And then once they get that, I actually give a food template, and the food template is flexible unless they already know how to use MyFitnessPal. And then this is where the communication comes in. You will have that food template as a food template without any changes, unless you need macro changes, or unless you complain about something in your check-in, and I might tweak something small, but I won't really change the whole thing.
Overhaul it, yeah.
Like, food is food. You can change up little things here and there, but you don't need to overhaul everything all the time. But back to the point, it is there as a template. And until you are ready to advance and you ask for more, then we can put you onto MyFitnessPal the same way, which is why you go through intro week. And the first step is literally slowing the fuck down and just eating the same as you were, but now logging it into MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
You start to get better at tracking, at using, because there's no point going from, okay, I'm going to do all this and then change every single diet and then, oh, I can track this now. Oh, I can track this now. No, you need to do the learning steps along the way. And then once you do that, then you can start subbing a little meal here and a little meal there until you become more competent at it. And you become competent without even realizing. And before you know it, you're intuitively eating, which you're not really intuitively eating. You're just able to navigate your food.
Make educated decisions. Yeah. And I think the theme of this whole entire chat has just been like small incremental changes and building habits over a longer period of time, as opposed to just like a short burst of complete change. Because you want to think about it as the long game. Like, you want to think about, can I do this for the rest of my life? Because I think, and look, do you know what? I understand how the industry has gotten to the point where it has, where you've got these like 8-week challenges, 6-week challenges, 10-day challenges. I understand, because, and also I understand how it's gotten to the marketing of like weight loss shakes and meal replacements and stuff like that. And the reason is they're just targeting people's inherent laziness and want for instant gratification without putting in any work. And so they're really targeting those desires within people. But this industry is the wrong industry to do that, because unfortunately what's going to work and what's going to stick is the opposite of weight loss shakes and challenges. It's the long-term habits, creating like something sustainable you can do forever that you enjoy, that works for you, and just small changes along the way.
There's still so much to talk on here that we need to go back to as well, but so much you just said there as well. It's like, before all of that as well, it's, you deal a lot with people that come to you like that, but that's the whole premise of like Muscle Nerds, and why I invested so much into them, because
so much, yeah.
the first thing I ever did, we're gonna have to come back to this. Okay, we're gonna talk about the body fat thing as well. I put this in my stories the other day. It's like, you need to be okay with the fact that body fat is going to happen when you're on a process to building muscle. And that's something that people are not willing to like take on board. They're fearful of it. And I get it, because I was there. But it comes a point where you are so fearful of it that you will never, ever, 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 ever see changes in your body without being okay with that fact. So I might let you talk about that before we come back to that one.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And there's not really a lot more to it than that, except the first off, you've just got to start questioning 5 whys. Why are you scared of body fat? It's essentially just going to come down because we've been conditioned to from fucking social media. Like, social media is so good, but it's also so bad. And you're just probably comparing yourself to the people that are like, I think you said in one of your chats that you did on social media the other day, like, you're comparing to your level 1 or 0.5 to someone else's level 5. And it's just like, you can have some control over how much body fat you put on in a bulk, but you'd have to do it really fucking slowly. And it's either like, you have to decide what you want what you want the least. Like, if you want it quick, then you're going to have to be okay with putting on some fat size everywhere. If you want to avoid that the most, then you're going to have to be okay with doing it in a lot longer and slower.
The other thing is, if you are complaining so much about the fact that you don't have toned legs, you don't have legs like Ruby, you don't have a butt like Krista, you don't have these bodies like other people, it's like, you do realize that it actually takes building some muscle. And the fact that you keep complaining as soon as your pants get tight, like, you can't confine yourself to the same size clothes either, because like, even when you're building muscle, that comes with water weight, that comes with like size, it takes up space. It's like, if you physically look at the glutes, I can't even do this thing. Let's do it this way.
It's like your zoom out thing though, right? Like, just zoom out, because overall,
like this, you want this, but you don't want extra weight. Like, what's that? Get away once you get that. It's like, it's the same concept.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I just think you really have to question why you don't want something and why you do. Like, the 5 whys, just dig 5 layers deeper and see, like, what is your fear around body fat percentage? What is your fear around scale weight change? Like, why does it bother you? Is it just because you've been told that it's a bad thing? Because it's not. Like, it really isn't. And it's not your self-worth. Like, I saw something really good the other day, and it's like, your weight is the least interesting thing about you.
It really is. Like, you don't even know what I
really is. You also, another thing, like, I did a chat on my stories maybe a year or so ago, and I was thinking, like, if you think about all of the reasons that you have people in your life, like the people you choose to be in your life and that you choose to be friends with, that you choose to be partners with, that you choose to work with, if you think about all of the reasons, like, think of every single person in your life and think of the reason as to why you're friends with them or you have them in your life, not one of them is because they weigh a certain weight. Not one of them is because they have a certain body fat percentage. It's because of how they make you feel. It's because that you trust them, you find them loyal, you like their sense of humor, they're good people. It's nothing is because of how they look. And why do we feel like, why do we put that pressure on ourselves when you don't put it on anybody else? Like, why do you think other people are going to judge you from your weight or your appearance when you don't judge anyone else by their weight or appearance? And they don't either. Like, literally no one decides to be your friend because you have low body fat percentage or because you weigh a certain weight. Not one fucking person. And it blows my mind that people still put so much emphasis on it.
And body fat percentage is a really stupid thing to go by anyway. Like, if you think about it, one, how inaccurate it is, and two, it looks different on
everybody. Everyone holds fat differently. Absolutely. And then when you think about what a body fat percentage actually is, it's a ratio, right? Like, you take your total amount of what makes you up, like matter, and you divide it into what's fat and what's not fat. And say you weigh, for argument's sake, 50 kilos, and your body fat percentage is 20%. So that's what, 10 kilos of fat. You can put on 20 kilos of muscle and keep the fat the same amount. So you don't even change your fat, the amount of fat you have. You now weigh 70 kilos and only 10 kilos of that is fat. So what's that, like 12 or 13% body fat? So you've reduced your body fat percentage, but you have not dropped any fat whatsoever. And you've reduced your percentage because you've changed the ratio of what's not fat. So does that make any sense at all? I'm not too sure. But it's like all body fat percentage is what's fat, what's not fat. And if you drastically increase what's not fat, you're dropping your body fat percentage without even dropping body fat. So I don't know why people put emphasis on that either. So
that's how you get toned and sculpt legs, because toned and sculpt legs and toned and sculpt anything is literally the density of your body, like having more muscle to fat ratio. And I'm going to read something that Ali put up because I loved it. And I only just saw it yesterday because I was trying to stalk her posts. It's she got a DEXA scan just to see what people actually think her body fat percentage is. And many people think that they are much lower than they are, but then there are people who think they are much higher than they are. And the thing is, why does it really matter what your body fat percentage is when you want a particular look? So, and something I used to say when I was competing on stage is, when I was doing comp prep, I should say, when I was comp prepping girls, does it really matter what you weigh on stage? Are they going to judge you first, second, third based on your scale weight? Are they going to judge you first, second, third based on how much you lift? Are they going to get you a barbell and see who lifts the most? Like, you're doing things out of I want to look a certain way. And there is something deeper than that. And that's why I don't do the 5 whys. I dig into the hows. How do you want to feel? What does that mean to you? Because there is so much more under the surface. And if you actually get really clear on what something means to you and how you want to feel, it becomes a lot easier to let go of just the goal and focus on the process. Because then it's just like, my gut health is better. I'm digesting, I'm pooping. We can talk about poop with the blood pressure too. But going back to the thing that we wanted to talk about when it's not about the food, that was the very first thing that I ever did in terms of my education. Oh,
really? Yeah. Was it? That's a deep opening.
It is. Maybe you can talk about that without me going into it, because you can start that conversation.
So we used to hold a seminar called When It's Not About the Food, and we used to team up with a counsellor, an EMDR therapist from New Zealand, and they used to specialize. There was a husband and wife team, and he used to be an award-winning chef in New Zealand for about 30 years, and then he became a personal trainer, and she's a counsellor and does EMDR therapy, which is eye movement, something desensitization, I don't know. Anyway, the premise being, so when you process emotions or when you process memories and events from the days, that typically happens in your REM stage of sleep, so your rapid eye movement stage of sleep, and the premise is moving from left to right from your brain. So that's why your eyes move the way they do in that stage of sleep, is because that's when you're processing all your stuff. If something traumatic happens, it doesn't process, it stays in the wrong part of the brain, and it's all subconscious, unconscious, and you kind of self-sabotage yourself, and you've got all these things, and you make all of these decisions in your life based on this unprocessed trauma. And EMDR therapy is processing that back into the right part of the brain, like the memory storage part, as opposed to keeping it almost like live. Anyway, the premise of it is most people, I think the statistics are 70 to 75% of obese or overweight, I think it's obese people, have had some type of childhood trauma or trauma in their life. So one of the biggest eye-openers for me was when she said that we have this habit, the industry has this habit of looking at obese people and overweight people and saying, hey, you have a problem. We have the solution. Come to us and we will fix your problem. The problem with that is the people who are obese and overweight, more often than not, their size is a solution to something. It is a solution. It is keeping them safe from something, whether that is sexual abuse, physical abuse, any type of like, they've had to put on a gorilla suit for whatever reason. And so we need to approach it from a softer, more empathetic perspective. And the whole point of the course, though, was not for trainers to obviously fix that. It was to see your red flags, to assess when there's red flags, and to know when to be able to refer out, because this person needs a big identity shift. What served them as their coping mechanisms and their survival mechanisms throughout their childhood or growing up no longer serves them, but they're still the mechanisms that they're using. They're now detrimental to them. So there's so much more to it than not about the food. Like, you can give them the perfect diet. It's not just as simple as saying just eat healthy or just exercise, because it's up here that they're battling with. It's, they don't want to be their size, but their size is saving them from something. It is a solution to something for them. And they need to be able to work through that and work past that. So that was the premise of the When It's Not About the Food seminar.
Yeah. And on that note, this is why coaching isn't about what you eat. It's not about how you train. It's a lot deeper than that. So if you want things to stick, you need to actually, like, the reason that this whole topic here is so important is so you realize that as well. And this is something that I've been helping, like, I have a very recent win lately with one of my girls, is like, food to her was a means of not feeling lonely. It was a means of, like, it was a means to an end for something. But I know that you talked about it in terms of habits, not creating goals, but it's like, yeah, but sometimes it's not even just about the habits. It's about creating the environment so that you're not actually forcing the habits. You need to make it easy to do that habit. Like, shift your environment. If you're eating in, like, the kitchen for dinner, why don't we take the dinner outside and eat it outside so that you don't have the same cues? It's like, there are things you can change, but at the same time, with what you mentioned about the whole food thing, it's not minusing, it's adding things in, as, like, it can serve as a distraction. It can serve as a replacement by adding stuff in, like, instead of watching TV at night, or instead of doing this at night, why don't we actually have you coloring in? Why don't we change it to something that you do that's spending time with yourself? Where is that lacking? And I find with a lot of my girls, it's actually the fact that they don't ever put themselves first. They don't.
Yeah, that's a really bad female trait too, actually, is they're altruists. They light themselves on fire for everybody else. And again, like, where does that come from? Like, why do we feel like we have to be everything to everyone? Like, why are we so hesitant to let people down or put ourselves first? Or why do we get that guilt if we say no to people? It's so deeply ingrained in a lot of females and males as well, but you see it more so in females. Because that expectation of, like, nurturing is there for a lot of females, that expectation of, like, being the carer, the look after, you build the home. And yeah, they won't put themselves first.
And that means that you won't have
hard.
confidence.
They get guilt if they do.
Yeah. And
where does that guilt come from?
Yeah, like, what are you afraid of? Why do you need to keep doing things for other people? Is it because you won't feel good enough? But the thing is, how are you allowing yourself room to be good enough if you're feeling shit all the time? If you're emotionally drained all the time? Like, I was feeling, well, it's not really good for me as an example, but maybe you might think of a client as well. But I was putting all my time into hating my waist, because my waist is blocky, but now it's just a part of me. It's like, I put so much time into focusing on all these things I can't do and all these things I hate about myself.
And they're things that you can't necessarily change. Like, your ratios are your ratios. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to go and do? Get fucking, I don't know. What are you going to do? Like, let's stretch you out. You know what I mean? Like,
but then when you think
flip side to that though is like your mechanics, your biomechanics, like you're the perfect body to be strong as fuck. And you are like, that's cool. And it's funny.
That amplify your strengths versus just focusing on your weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. See, be appreciative of what your body can do. And the thing is, you're always going to want what you don't or can't have. Always. Like you get someone that's got a nice elongated waist that you admire, and they're going to be like, fuck, I would love to be able to deadlift 187 kilos.
And it's like,
you know what I mean? Like, man, I wish I had that physique. And it's going to be someone who's got naturally more muscle mass than someone who's leaner. Like I look at girls that have that put on muscle easily. And I'm like, man, that's an attractive look. But it's because they don't have the same physique as me. Like I don't look at many girls that have the same shape as me and I think it's attractive. And it's just because you can do what you've got is normal to you. You always want what you can't have. You find beauty in things that aren't you. And it's fucked up. Like,
I love that. It's true. You mentioned it's like you see, that's the thing, like you see yourself all the time, so you're never ever actually realizing how much you change in that period of time.
So desensitized to yourself.
But the other thing is when you actually realize why you're doing what you're doing and actually focus on the process and make that the goal, you find it harder to feel like you're less than, because everything you're doing is for you and you're realizing how much it's benefiting all these other areas of your life. And you realize now that you are being a better mom because you're doing all these other things. And we talk about identity a lot. And it's like, you can't identify as a mom. Yeah, you have kids, but there is so much more to you. And if all you do is just give for your kids, you're really not giving them anything because they learn from you and it affects generations to come.
A really good saying that I saw that I liked, and I've shared it a couple of times in our content, is putting other people first tells them that you come second. And I like that because it's just like, if all you do is and this is what my problem is, I'm very much a people pleaser, and it's not a good trait to have in some instances. But if you just put everyone else's needs first, you are teaching them that your needs don't matter and they come second. So just by default, they become desensitized, and their new normal is like, oh, okay, well, I'll be looked after before the business or before you or before our relationship or whatever. And it's a subconscious thing. It's you just set that precedent that you will always sacrifice, and it becomes expected of you. And that's why you get into that trouble of being able, like, not being able to say no, because you always said yes. And it's like, if you say no, it's like, what? And you're a fucking dick. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said no. Like it's if you put other people first, it tells them that you come second, and you shouldn't come second. No one should come second. Like you got to do what's right for you. You got to look out for number one, even if that means disappointing some people. Like their disappointment is not yours to own or wear. Like obviously don't treat people like shit. Like don't go out of your way to be dicks, but you do have to put yourself first. And if you have to say no to some people and some things, like they'll be okay. They can figure it out. It's not your responsibility to make other people's lives easier. That's their responsibility.
I love that so much because it's touching on the fact that if you really don't look internally and see what it is that your approach right now is impacting physically, emotionally, socially, you're going to keep burning the gas out. And you get to a point where, like, I have a example of a client who's a Spotify premium, and they're part of a little group chat, because I have like a couple of group chats with people that can like help each other out. But two of the girls in that group chat have become Spotify premium, and two of the others are still like trying to grab onto things. But I had the conversation with her outside of the chat. I'm like, you do realize how far you come by reading what that other person just said? And she's like, holy shit, yeah. Because that whole like putting each other first, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, I wish I was still here. And you're looking back to old versions of you. You're complaining on social media all the time, and you're creating the perfect environment for feeling like absolute shit. And it just feeds itself. And if all you're going to do is just, I guess, if all you're going to do is wish for things, but not actually take the actions to do them, you're never going to build confidence or feel capable of doing things, because confidence comes from doing what you said you would do. If you keep putting your word on the back burner, you are never going to believe in yourself. You are never going to trust your body. And if you failed in the past, I might put this post up today and I'm going to tag you in it because I actually wrote it this morning. But if you put all your worth on your past failures and you don't realize that there is actually better out there, you maybe just had a bad experience, you are never going to allow yourself to be your best, to see all there is out there and to actually live your best, to give to those that you love, that you want to put first, because they're not really coming first if you're always last. Because
100%.
You're like
and
a
the thing,
team.
yeah, and the thing is though, like if you've got the self-belief that like you're a piece of shit, or that you're lazy, or that you're a person that never gets anything finished, or that you're a person that puts other people first, or whatever, all you're going to do is act in a way and that validates that belief, and that you're going to look for confirmation that confirms that belief, and you're going to ignore anything else that disputes it or says otherwise. So like if you're a person like if you identify as someone who like, oh man, I never finish anything, and there's like little, like it's, do you know what, a really good example, well, it's not really a good example, but we had someone leave like a bad review on us on our social media, like, or on our business page a few years ago. They left like a 1-star review and just said that we're not good at what we do and all this sort of shit. And I ended up contacting her, and I was, because it was a client of one of our coaches, and I looked through her entire time of working with him, and she had come to us and she wanted to get her period back. She wanted like her goals in order were, I think, get her cycle back, get, I can't remember, like get healthier, and then her final goal was to lean out. So we literally, like, she got her period back, she got her sleep was better, her moods improved, and her chicken form, she was confirming all these things, and she was solely focusing, so this is like your zoom in and zoom out thing, she was solely focusing on weight loss. And the problem was, like, to address her health issue, she had to put on a little bit of weight, and it was like 2 kilos. It was fuck all, really, compared to like obviously what it was. So we worked on all the things she said she wanted, and she achieved those, but because she couldn't stop focusing on the weight loss stuff, and because that was to come, like we were literally just about, we'd gotten some health stuff in order, we were literally just about to start like a cup for her so she could drop some body fat, but she disregarded all of the things she had achieved and all of the wins she had because she was focusing on what she hadn't. And it just blew my mind. I was like, how do you not see, like, we literally, first off, we gave you what you after, you achieved all these things, this is all the progress you've made 10 progress things and one thing you haven't done, but you're focusing on that one that you can't see the 10. And people do that all the time.
I love that. Like my philosophy on this is obviously different than yours, but this is why I say fuck the scale, because
there
comes a time where you are just like, you start with good intentions like she did. This is why I like client examples. Client examples are so relatable for people listening to this, because you start off with great intentions, and then as soon as you get so focused on that scale number going down, I see with like friggin', apparently because of Slimming World or whatever it is, because you're always so focused on the number going down, as soon as you get to the finish line or wherever it is, you don't know anything different. And then you become so warped into the scales that nothing else matters. No other progress marker is seen. It's, you need to redefine your meaning of progress, because your goalposts will always shift, and you need to tune into that, but also be realistic. You don't want to lose yourself in the process. And this brought me back to the first note that I made that I wanted to talk about with your talking, is you need to find things outside of the gym so that your gym isn't your only source of happiness, because that is when it gets really hard to enjoy the process.
Yeah. And like, I mean, your life is so multifaceted, there's so many aspects to your life, and all of them you have to like or enjoy. Well, not all of them you have to like and enjoy, because there's some things like housework you're never going to like and enjoy that. But I remember what got me to meeting Luke in the first place, and what got me into just like, I guess, the education and continuing education side of the industry, is I remember when I was training clients and I was like, surely there's more to them getting the results they are after than the 45 minutes a day that I see them? Like, what about the other 23 minutes and 23 hours and 15 minutes? Like, what are they doing in that time? And that's where it started me on the education journey, and like trying to learn more about how the body works and learn more about sleep and habits and lifestyle and how that interplays. Because you have 45 minutes a day with someone, not even a day, 45 minutes 3 times a week. Like, you have to find stuff outside of that that's going to be conducive to where you want to go as well. And like, what is that? What does it look like? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? It's different for everybody. And it's not just the training that you have to focus on. It's just like, it's your thoughts, it's your beliefs, it's your outlooks, it's your habits, it's your sleep. You know, everything has to be kind of looked at and addressed and like monitored and managed as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well, because this is where we go into the habits, because it takes a while to create a structure that serves you. And we were talking about the nighttime routine, and I'm sure that you have the same morning routine every morning. And if it's not the same, it's going to be something similar, or it's just because you have something on. But the thing is, what you do most of the time is what you gravitate towards when life gets chaotic. So
yep. That's a really good thing as well. We spoke about that. It's like, when you are stressed, your default is what your habits are when you are not stressed. So that's why you have to work on stress management techniques and habits and all those sorts of things that serve you when you're in a good place, because they're what you're going to fall back on when you're not in a good place. But it can appear overwhelming to people, because you're like, oh my God, I have to like address all of these different aspects of my life. Like, how overwhelming. Like, I don't want to do that. But it doesn't have to be. It's just all these small little things. And like, your morning routine starts at night, the night before. So it's just like, what can you control? What are you willing to do? Let's start there. And then it's a long process.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's overwhelming if you're trying to do it all at once. And like I said in that video that I sent you, you're not just going to have to figure out how to do all the things the next day, because you don't just wake up at your goal. Like, you become that person in the process. And that's what a lot of people miss out. It's like, what if I fail? Or it's the fear of success. It's like, you don't just fall into success. You work hard to get there. And in the process, you learn how to do the things. And then you learn how to cope with all these other things. But then something you said kind of ties back to the not everyone can start off with fat loss, because you don't have the stress management in place. If you don't, this is something that I actually did learn from the business little unit you had in there, is if you can't raise your ceiling, raise your floor. And if you can't raise your floor, then you're going to keep falling to the old habits that you ever had. And this is another saying of mine. I put this in like a million posts by now. It's, your default settings are bullshit. So you need to upgrade the hardware before you worry about fancy apps, before you worry about how your phone functions or what your phone does. Like, you need to fix the default settings, because if something happens or you break your phone and then you get a new phone, the default settings there are bullshit if you haven't yet upgraded them. Like, you need to actually work on your hardware. And this kind of ties into the really other big topic, which is, it's about a calorie deficit, not a nutrient deficit. And the reason why this all ties into it is because if you're not actually getting in your protein, for example, like, people do not eat enough protein. That can be one for you as well. People do not get in enough veggies that have the vitamins needed to have a healthy metabolism. And this is something really, really important that I really want to talk about, because not only does it impact your ability to build muscle and burn fat, but it impacts your brain. Because like, if you're not eating the right foods, then your mood's going to be shit. You're going to feel sluggish. You're not going to be wanting to move more, because now your gut is not allowing you to poop. And then you feel all backed up, and then you're like, I don't want to go to the gym because I can't poop. It's all tied. It's all tied together. And this is why it is not just about the scale.
I mean, I think there's definitely like a large emphasis on calories, 100%, because at the end of the day, fat loss comes from a calorie deficit. It's correct. It's also oversimplified. I mean, it's not oversimplified. It is that simple. It's as simple as that. The difficulty comes with, like, I think I mentioned it earlier, the reason that you eat isn't like solely related to your physique. Like, the purpose of food is to keep you functioning, it's to keep you alive. But when we look at it through that single straw and that single fact of just like fat loss, you then disregard all the other things that food is needed for. And a calorie deficit shouldn't be a nutrient deficit. And what that means is like every single process in the body is fueled by like a vitamin or mineral. You have nutrient dependent cofactors and nutrient dependent receptors and nutrient dependent like conversions and enzymes. So everything like that has to be converted in your body is reliant on a mineral or a vitamin or something. And if you don't have enough of them, like say you need, and this, I get this from this example from Dr. Libby, and she's really good. Say you need substance X needs to be turned into substance Y. Like you have that conversion has to happen for you to function. Or for some really important process to work. But for substance X to convert to substance Y, it needs to have substance Z. If you don't get enough substance Z in your diet, it's going to find substance Z from somewhere else that it is in the body, and that'll cause deficiencies and all over the place. If you then don't get enough substance Z, substance X won't convert to substance Y, and you'll get twofold problems. Not only will you not have enough substance Y, you will have too much substance X, and that can cause its own issues. So nutrients are so important.
Something that would help, just so you can continue on that path. This kind of might work with blood pressure, but that will be later on. Very soon. Blood markers, when you get your blood tests, that thing that is shown on your blood test is not the thing that's wrong. That is the thing that is showing up because something else is wrong in the system. And that's the same with this. Like you will deplete from other areas and your body will take from other areas because you're not giving it something else in a different area. So then if you address this, you'll probably down the road will make the whole issue worse because you're still taking from this in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, as from what I understand, I don't interpret labs. It's not. I'm still learning that in school. That's a Luke Lehman category. But from what I understand, is whenever you get your labs, all that is a snapshot of what has been going on. It's like almost like a history of everything, and you can't just look at your blood work and look at the ratios as standalone figures and being like in range. You have to look at ratios between certain things. You have to look at different patterns amongst things. You have to have an understanding of like what happens within that. And most doctors will be like, yep, you're in range with everything. But even then, the ranges come from the averages of blood tests that have been done over decades or whatever. But how many healthy people go and get blood tests? Those ranges aren't from healthy, optimal people, and everyone has their own optimal range, and no one knows what that is because nobody goes to the doctor and says, I'm feeling fucking fantastic, run me my labs. Like nobody does that. And also, even if you did, the doctor wouldn't give it anyway. So you don't know what your optimal levels are because you don't test when you're feeling the best.
I'm going to tie this back to the importance of having a coach because this is actually really important. What Zoe just said there is really important, and this is why you need to freaking do your feedback and not just say it's good. Like you need to speak up for a lot of things because everything that you put in metrics, like whatever it is that you are willing to put into our metrics, which I wish most of my clients actually filled out their damn metrics because it's so important, and you're going to explain why. But it's like those metrics mean nothing. The sleep data on your watch means nothing without context because what looks good on paper might have you feeling shit. And what looks shit on paper, you might actually feel good at. So it's relative to you. And because you said this really well as well, it's a snapshot in time of what you were doing before. And I know Luke mentioned this before. I don't know the intricacies, but it's almost like when people just give you an estrogen blocker because your estrogen is high on blood tests. But the thing is, the estrogen...
Why is it high in the first place?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, why is it high?
Yeah. And I mean, he talks about that with glucose disposal agents as well. So what a lot of people will do is be like, oh my God, I'm not getting glucose into the cell. I'm going to get a glucose disposal agent and I'm going to force that in there. You have to ask the question, why does your cells not want it in the first place, and address that instead of forcing the body into something. And this is the thing. I spoke about this. Where did I speak about it? Somewhere. Oh, I can't remember. it might have been on a podcast, and we spoke about the difference between like conventional medicine, like westernized medicine, and then alternative medicine, and like what the differences were. And it's almost like the medications and pharmaceuticals and stuff and the drugs that are created, fantastic, they save lives 100%. They force the body to do certain things, right? They're like, okay, you've got something that's not working, take this, and it's going to force your body into it. Whereas like the alternative medicine is more like, let's coax your body into wanting to do the right thing on its own. Each have a place. Say that again.
Force versus facilitate.
Yeah, and so it's like each has a place, each has a time, each is, and they both got like pros, both got cons. And that's the thing, everything's got pros, everything's got cons. You've got to learn the pros and cons of everything so you know when to use it and when to not, and when it's suitable, when it's not. And then another example of that is like cortisol. Everybody demonizes cortisol. Everybody says, oh, you got to get your cortisol down, you got to get your cortisol down. But cortisol is high for a reason, and it's trying to protect you. It's just doing its job. You've got to find out why it's high and give it a reason itself not to be high, instead of trying to force it down yourself. Because all you're doing then is treating the symptom and not the cause.
Cortisol is actually anti-inflammatory, so it's actually
that's why it's
thing in your body if it's high, because obviously there is something going wrong if it's high, because it's trying to make you anti-inflammatory.
It's like the stages of stress, right? It's like you have your acute stress response, which is when your adrenaline and your noradrenaline spike, and you're supposed to then, once that happens, like it's instant survival. That's the purpose of it. It's like, let's get you out of the situation that you're in danger with right now. If that stays elevated for too long, that's when cortisol comes along and suppresses it, and it does the anti-inflammatory and all that sort of stuff. And when that is high for too long is kind of like when you get all your issues. So it's like, let's not force cortisol down. It's doing its job. It's protecting you. It's saving you. Why is it high in the first place? Same with the glucose disposal agents, same with the estrogen blockers. It's like, you've got to look and find out, because all your body is trying to do is save you, right? You have to find out, like, it's doing everything for a reason. You just have to find out what that reason is, and you have to talk to your body. Yeah, and you have to talk to your body in a language that it understands. And that's just like, for example, when you become stressed, and I think this is something you wanted to speak about anyway, is like, how does your body know that you're safe? So your hypothalamus's job is literally to just assess your environment, to assess your blood levels, to assess everything and see if you are safe. And if you can communicate to your body in a way that it understands, and that means, and one good way to do that is breath work, right? So breathing, if you can inhale for a certain amount of time, if you can exhale for twice the amount of time that you inhale, that is a good communication to your body that you're safe. Because if you're in a situation of danger, you wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't have the luxury of time to be able to slow your breathing down. And same with calorie deficits, right? Historically, the only time that we have ever been short on food supply is if like floods, famines, and wars, right? So when food is scarce, and if your body is aware that food is scarce, it's going to do things to protect you or to try and reserve and look after you, because it's like, we're not getting what we need. All right, now we're just going to start being a little bit more efficient with what we've got, because we need to make it last longer. If you diet when your body believes that food is scarce, and if you continue to diet, all you're doing is confirming to your body what it thinks it knows is that food is scarce. So it's going to do what it can to preserve what it's got. So that's why sometimes you do have to start eating at maintenance. You do have to let your body know food is available, we are safe. And you have to do the breath work, because it's like, okay, we are safe. Like, talk to your body in the language that it understands.
That there was something in there that I really want to talk about, and that's the calorie deficit isn't always a calorie deficit in your body. Like, it is, it might be on paper, but because your body becomes so efficient, this is something I learned personally, and it's that a food might be like 200 calories, but then your body would process it as 300, because it is in a state where it wants to get as much energy as it can from the food. Like, a calorie is what your body, you said this yourself, you don't eat calories, you eat food, which is then broken down and then used as energy. You will break it down and extract more energy if your body is in a state where all it wants is energy. And I remember that, because I remember reading somewhere where even with like artificial sweeteners and things with like high, like that like high fiber and oligosaccharides, blah, 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 your body will actually extract a lot more calories from those if it is in a stress state, if it is calorie deprived, because it wants to get that energy. So this is why you cannot diet forever. And this is why you teach the importance of periodization.
Yeah, I mean, Luke, I've actually never heard of that about being able to extract more calories from food than like what it normally would. But I do know that Luke speaks about on like you're never really truly in a calorie deficit because you're either using the food that you're eating now or you're using the food that you've eaten previously, which is your stored body fat. And that's where it's like like if you're consuming less than you need, your body's going to find to make up the balance of what you need from somewhere else, and that would be your fat stores, right? So you're never really in a deficit as such. Your body will find it. But if you aren't giving it enough, how it finds what it needs is by reducing what it needs. So that's like where it'll just like delve down some of the resources that it's been giving to other places, and that's where you get like the REDS from relative energy deficiency syndrome and stuff like that. And that's where you start getting like brain fog, and you're not as alert all the time, and your NEAT goes down, because that's your body like reducing what it needs because it's not getting it from what you're eating it, so it's having to find it from somewhere else, and it wants to limit how much it needs to find. So there are times when it's like, yeah, you probably do need either like a diet break, or you need to eat in maintenance, or what you are eating now, your body has reduced its energy expenditure, or it's reduced how much it needs. So now you're actually not eating in a deficit, you're eating at your new maintenance. So let's like eat a little bit more than you normally would, let your body know that it's got all the resources available, it'll ramp everything back up, and then you can make a deficit again from there, if that makes sense.
It does. But the thing is, here's the thing. As we said in Ali's podcast, walk 50 miles into the woods, you need to walk 50 miles out. So you've been doing, like, if you've been doing the same shit for years, you can't just walk it up for like weeks and be like, I want to go into a fat loss phase. And I think a really good place to kind of sum this up. So it's not gonna, I don't know, what else do you want to talk about before we like go into the hurry?
I think that's kind of it. I think we've covered a lot of really good stuff, and I haven't eaten today yet. It's 12:35 and I'm starving.
It's 1:35 here, but
yeah, that's right. You're an hour ahead. Yeah.
I cannot wait for the daylight savings to end. Before we talk about the importance of health metrics, the last thing I wanted to talk about was the thing that we started on with the self-awareness around calories and food, and how tracking your food is not an eating disorder. But the thing is, if you look at Luke and you look at Zoe, they're two polar opposites in terms of when it comes to how they make their food. But the thing is, Zoe's been doing this for ages. She knows how she needs to eat for her body, and she kind of unconsciously tracks her food because she's competent at it. And I guess the biggest part that I wanted to have there is the importance of routine, the importance of having the education around that food, so that you are like, the fact that tracking calories isn't actually you being obsessed or you being disordered, because you don't just track calories to lose weight, you track calories for more things than just losing weight.
And do you know what? There's like a couple of points here on that. And one thing, Australian strength coach said it very well. Someone in one of his Q&As once, someone asked him how many calories he eats, and he's like, I have no idea. He goes, I eat, and if I put on weight, I eat a little less, and if I lose weight, I eat a little more. So, and that's literally, it's that simple. But I think I track maybe twice a year, and it's more so just to bring awareness back to what I'm eating, so it's not so mindless. It brings my mind and consciousness towards, like, I make more conscious decisions. But I also think it's important to point out that I am also aware of what signs and symptoms to look out for, and how food should make me feel, and how food should how I do respond to it. So like, I know when I'm making a poor decision, but I'm consciously making that poor decision, and I'm aware of the consequences that are going to come from whether I eat well or whether I eat poorly. And I can choose whether I want to accept those consequences or not. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to eat whatever the fuck I want today. I know I'm going to feel like shit tomorrow, but I'm consciously aware of the consequences, and I'm choosing those consequences today. Whereas normally I can be like, I don't want to feel like shit tomorrow, or like, I don't want, if I do this for like a month, like, I don't want to put on like 4 or 5 kilos, so I'm going to choose not to. Whereas it's like, I'm not burying my head in the sand of what food is doing to me. Whereas I think a lot of people want to do that. They don't want to bring awareness. They don't want to understand the consequences or understand what food does or doesn't doesn't do. And so they just bury their head in the sand about it and be like, I don't care. Whereas like I'm not burying my head in the sand with it, but I'm also not becoming like hyper fixated, and the data isn't driving me. It's just like, at least I know I'm making my own decisions, and they're educated decisions.
I want to emphasize the fact that this is why there are levels to nutrition. This is why we both have levels to the way that we approach our food with our clients as well. It's because you don't know how good you can feel until you actually feel it. And because Zoe mentioned heaps of times about how things make her feel, how the hell can you know how certain foods make you feel when you've been eating Macca's your whole life? McDonald's, people who are,
and they don't realize that they're actually feeling crappy. And you know, one thing I noticed when I clean my diet up, one of the biggest things I notice is that I wake up in the morning feeling really refreshed. When I eat a lot of crap, and I do that when I get really stressed and busy. Food always falls. It's kind of one of the things. I'm actually fortunately in that stage at the moment where I just have zero motivation to make my meal, zero motivation to eat a healthy meal. I'm just
coaches do it too. See,
like I'm just, but the thing is, like, I'm aware, and I know this isn't a forever thing, and I know that I can tidy shit up when I get to a point. Like I'm consciously choosing this. Like I'm not burying my head in the sand about it and hoping that like bad shit's not going to happen. But when I do tidy my diet up, the biggest thing I notice is like I feel better in the mornings. And it's just like people don't associate the two. Like they just think, oh, I'm tired, I had a crap sleep. It's like, no, you've got a crap diet. Like your sleep was like fine.
That point there, it's like when clients are feeling really shit and they come to us saying, I'm going to get a blood test because I feel like shit. I'm like, the blood test isn't really going to tell us anything new, because the fact that you've been stressed out as fuck forever and you're not even dealing with it, and the fact that you're not eating your veggies, and the fact that you're not doing all these other things, like we already know the solutions to the problem that you're coming to us with. Like it's that's what it actually,
it's like even if you get labs and it tells you something, the solution is still going to be to clean your diet up and exercise a little bit. So you might as well just start doing that. The only reason, like, I do think labs should be done when you're doing everything right and it's still not kind of sorting itself out. And then you're like, okay, something deep is going on here. Like, what is it? But usually the answer to most things is just to make better decisions with your activity levels, with your exercise, and then with your diet. And obviously there's, like I mentioned earlier, there's a point of diminishing return. Like you can do too much exercise. It's just finding that sweet spot, what works for you, and just not getting like obsessive about it, which is easier said than done.
And this is where it actually becomes as simple as just that, with eating better and actually moving more. But the thing is, it's until a point, and this is going to lead into the ending of the conversation, which is about why health metrics are so important, because doing all these things that we've been talking about and actually focusing on getting fitter, getting stronger, eating enough veggies, because veggies contain things called potassium, and they contain like all these other vitamins and minerals that actually lead, I say actually a lot, but they actually lead to better blood health. They lead to healthier blood pressure. They lead to all these things that your doctor is telling you have issues with. Like, it is really that simple to do the hard thing, but it is the hard thing. It's simple but hard.
Yeah, it's simple. Yes, and we can't confuse like simple with easy. But I think in terms of like tracking like your health metrics, it gives a quantifiable, indisputable, definitive almost. Whereas, for example, when you're stressed, one of the protective mechanisms of stress is to not feel stress, because the last thing you want to do is, if you're in a moment of what our stress response was historically designed to protect us from, was like those instant threats to your life. And if you felt stress in those instances, it would be detrimental to your survival, right? So you have like a mask, and usually you don't feel the effects of stress once the stressor has been removed. So you'll often get a lot of people that are like, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed. And then the examples that Luke likes to use is, then you find out that they hate their boss, they're fighting with their husband, their 8-year-old smoking crack, they've got mortgage stress and worries and financial worries, and they, don't like their partner, all this sort of stuff. And then you're like, how can you not be stressed? Like anyway. And then, but if you take your health markers, you can only manage what you measure. And it's like you actually said it earlier when you were talking about one of your clients who came to you for health and he wasn't tracking. And you're like, well, I don't know where to start because I don't know where you are. Taking health metrics and something that you can measure against as you progress gives you an idea of where to start and how you're tracking, whether something's working or not. Because if you've got someone that comes to you and is solely focused on the scale weight and the scale weight's not moving, but all their health markers are improving, you know you're heading in the right direction. Whereas if you don't take them, you've got no idea. Like to them, nothing is working. But you could have all these phenomenal things happening and progress is happening in different ways and in different areas. But if you don't know it, like they're going to feel disheartened. So health metrics are really good. Again, it's kind of like it's not subjective because you've just got too many ways that different ways people interpret things. It gives you like a hard and fast quantitative measure, and you can measure against that consistently similar one as you progress. So also, so you know, you're not doing more harm than good as well. So you're not driving yourself further into the hole. You're actually kind of digging yourself out of it.
That's a perfect way to sum it all up as well, because that is the topic of the conversation. Like it's focusing on more than just weight loss, and it's realizing that there is so much more to the picture. And if you want to make it easier, effortless, and something you enjoy, it's good to zoom the fuck out, and it's good to stop comparing yourself, and it's good to stop trying to do everything all at once, and it's good to stop comparing yourself from where you are to where you are not. So
and it's all like it's all like I said, simple stuff, but it's not always easy to implement. And I feel like if you are like listening to this and then you're like, oh yeah, right, like I can't, like how do you just stop yourself obsessing over the weight? How do you just stop yourself obsessing over the scales? How do you just like stop, you know, because all that emotional side to it. If people are listening to this and this seems like unattainable and they can't do this, you probably should go and talk to someone because you've got something going on that's stopping you from getting to your goals. If you've got the outlook like why aren't you able to take it slow? Why are you obsessed about putting on a little bit of body fat? Why are you worried about the scale? You know, why can't you track without becoming obsessed about the numbers and the food? Like that stuff that probably needs to be addressed, because you do want to get to a place where you are happy with yourself but still wanting to become, and I hesitate to use the word better versions of yourself, like I did that earlier. And I think using the word better implies that what you are right now it can be improved upon, or I mean, we can always have room for improvement, but it just insinuates that you're not good right now. Everyone is completely fine where they're at, and it's not a problem to want to be better or do more. But I just think it shouldn't become to the point where you won't settle with anything less than like phenomenal.
Yeah, it's being okay with where you're at, but wanting a better version of yourself. So that's actually that's a really good way to end it. I don't even know what to call this podcast now. I'm gonna have to like split it up and see what's
big mishmash of everything. Yeah,
it really is. And it goes to show that there is so much more underneath the surface of how you eat, what you eat, how you train, and what you do in the gym, because we're humans, we're not robots.
And another thing, just really quickly to touch on that I jotted down before is, you know, you can really put someone in the right environment, they can create the right habits, but if they don't change their mindset or beliefs around stuff, they still won't ever get to where they want to go or be happy with where they are. So people really need to work on their perception of themselves, and that will help them, because yeah, it's just like I said, if you focus on shit through a straw, you kind of miss everything else. And you can set someone up with the right habits, but if they're approaching it from the wrong mindset or the wrong perspective or the wrong point of view, then it's probably going to do more damage than good in the long run anyway.
You cannot solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. It's the same thing.
100%. Yep, that's exactly spot on.
Yeah, so with that,
thank you for the chat.
Thank you for coming on Mama Muscle Nerd. So if you liked this, make sure you actually go and check out Muscle Nerd's page, because you will see why there is so much more to this than what meets the eye, and it will give you such a big reality check for what really constitutes health and fitness and your dream body, and how it really is not as complex nor as simple as it seems. It's what you make of it and what you are willing and able to do. So with that, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.